Hello, guys. My name is Pranav Sharma, and welcome again to our podcast, Tank Talks, powered by the Policy Tank. And I'm very happy today that to share this thing with you that we have reached more than 30,000 plus impressions on our podcast, and we are reaching out to the globe right now, along with India, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, USA, Australia, and parts of Middle East. So yeah, I'm really very happy the kind of love what you guys are giving us. So just keep it up, and yes, let's make us reach 1 million mark. And on that note, I'll present you today's topic with which we have come up with. So today's topic is nurturing children's well-being, essential strategies for raising resilient kids. And for this today's topic, I have my co-host Ryan, who is from Singapore, and he's a career coach and making a wave in Singapore and around the globe with his career coaching. And welcome, Ryan, on the podcast again with me. It's been an
Good to
honor.
see y'all.
Yeah. And today, along with me and Ryan, we have our very special guest, Ms. Aradhana Vaze, who is seasoned counselor specializing in social emotional learning for children. And also, she holds an MBA for the Army from the Army Institute of Management, Kolkata, and has corporate experience with Hewlett Packard and Cushman and Wakefield, along with following her marriage to a second generation Army officer. She transitioned to academia, teaching management at DSSC Wellington to military spouses and later working with children in army schools. Aradhana is also a certified NLP practitioner and an avid yoga and meditation enthusiast with a family legacy of military services spanning 3 generations. She has spent the past 4 years counseling military families in her role as a commanding officer's wife. So, very, very welcome, Aradhana, on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Pranav. It's an honor, and it's really nice to actually that we're discussing this topic. It really requires a lot of attention now.
Thank you, Rana. And I guess we could start with the topic of nature and outdoor activities, right? Because I know it comes to dealing with youth nowadays, they are living in a world that's flooded with devices everywhere. So perhaps you could share with us, why is spending time in nature very beneficial for the child's well-being?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll quickly share my screen, and then we will have like a talk on this. I think nature is something that I mean, research has definitely been done on how important it is to actually go outside and play in nature. But it wasn't such a it wasn't something that we would be thinking or discussing about earlier. It was something that the parents would just tell you at a certain time in the evening to just go out of the house and not come back before 2 hours. And it was like that for a very long time, till about 30 years ago. About 30 to 40 years back, there was no questions asked. You had to go out and play. But now, due to you can say gadgets and a lot of screens, children are not going out as much. And there is a lot of research now after the pandemic that's been done on the same. And the reasons for decline were earlier seen as, that the parents want some tangible results. They want some kind of, children have to learn something, and play is not as important, because in this world right now, the world of competition, everybody wants their child to measure up to the standards and to their class and want to get a good job and a career. But in that whole aspect, then play, kind of got left behind. Lack of time for parents, and who would take the child outside and play with them when there is so much work to be done. Lack of knowledge about importance of play, which most of the parents don't really have. They prefer that the child goes to do something constructive according to them, which is learn music or learn and if you want to learn a sport, learn it as in go to a class and learn cricket or learn football. That's how the parents want their children to kind of learn things. and the academic overload. So overall, I feel the parents are a bit insecure as to what will happen with the child if he is not learning, because we are in a world where everything is instant. So what did the child learn today? you know, and the child probably, if he goes out to play, doesn't learn anything according to them. But they fail to understand the important skills which actually are necessary for every human being, and those are getting kind of left behind um, when there is a decline in outdoor play. So now we probably go to the physical and mental ill effects of not playing outside. So you have obesity, which is coming up as a big issue. You have vitamin D deficiency, which is again a very big issue for children nowadays. Mm, there is one concern which I think came very recently about a lot of children being myopic, and people were like, why? Especially the ophthalmologists were like, why is this happening? Why are there so many children coming with specs? And there were doctors were very concerned, and they were wondering what is happening, because normally what would happen is, if the parents have specs, then there's a genetic possibility that the child will also get specs. But now a lot of children whose parents do not have specs are coming for their children with who have myopia. And the reason was that the children are getting used to seeing everything very close, too soon, in their whatever first year or second year. They're seeing gadgets. They're also learning. They're going to school very early, so they're seeing notebooks very close up, and that doesn't leave them much space to see uh, from a wider perspective. When they go out and play, most of the time they're seeing things far, and that's how the muscles get exercised, and that is exactly how those eye muscles get developed. So cases of myopia. Then you have social skills, that's kind of lacking. How do you interact with another person, another child, or those skills are not getting developed. Children are getting anxiety, they're getting depression, and all this because of lack of play. Now let's just go to the benefits of play. Like I said, children are, we as human beings are social animals, and that is the first thing that any human being should learn to do. They should learn to interact with the world. They should learn to communicate. They should learn to be assertive when it's needed. They should learn to be, they should learn to know that, okay, fine, I'm going to a playground, and sometimes I get my swing, sometimes I don't. And how do I deal with it? Or some kid is going to push you, and then how are you going to deal with those emotions? So these things bring resilience in children, and these things is what the child is not getting at the right time. If you do the same exercise later, about 18 years later, you have a leadership program where you say, okay, now today I will teach you communication skills, or I'll teach you how to interact socially, or nowadays they're having relationship management, and also lots of programs for elders. But the fact is that the child, like, they never learned it when they were supposed to learn it. That is at the right age, when they were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. So that is how important outdoor play is. And it is, not just structured play like a game of cricket or a game of football. It is just being outside in nature, exploring the nature, knowing, your surroundings is extremely important. So yeah, Ryan.
Hmm. Yes, very good sharing about this. Yeah, let's find out more about this reclaiming the outdoor play. How can parents encourage their kids to be more active outdoors?
Yeah. So most of the time, the parents don't really have, especially working parents, I see they don't have the time for it. And teachers and parents both feel that, it is something that they are either not able to do, or it's not as important. And I feel the best thing about outdoor plays, you really don't have to do much. You just have to accompany the child to a playground. You have to be there. You don't have to play with them if you don't need to, because there will be other children, and the whole point is to interact with other children. So just take out the time to go outside with your child. And most of the time, I feel, especially in India, there's a lack of playgrounds. You have to realize that you have to think your priorities, even as a nation or as a society, as to what you're leaving for your children. You have to have those kind of playgrounds which are safe, which are secure, where children can actually come, they can play with other children. There are some sort of um, there are people who are looking after you. If it's your own parents or from your neighborhood, if you can volunteer and take two or three children outside to play. Then nature based curriculums are extremely important, because as long as you don't have that kind of culture in schools, and the schools are only academic, focused on academia, they will not understand how important it is to be, because you're in this, on this earth. You have to interact with nature at all times. And you have to know, the seasons change, and as once after seasons change, what kind of weather will it be, how, when you're playing, there are so many things that you kind of interact with, whether it's the mud or the trees. And all this will happen only when the school kind of inculcates it as well in their curriculum, you know. And as I said, safe places are extremely important. Parental involvement is important. If not the parent, then the grandparent, or some relative. It is not as easy as we say, because I understand, being a parent, it's not, it's not that you can take the child out and, he'll play, he'll have fun, he'll come back. Sometimes he'll not have fun. Sometimes he'll have fights. Sometimes he'll just not want to play. Sometimes he just want to hold your hand. um, but these are things that are important for a child. And sometimes, they will just fall and come back to you. You have to learn to accept that. Earlier, you know parents were probably, what is considered dangerous now was not considered dangerous then. Parents would just send their child out, and there were certain times where there were some kind of dangerous things that children did. And probably it would be jumping from, a little to this thing, tree or something like that. And but now I think parents are really, really concerned. They're overprotective, and that is kind of reducing the child's need, or the child's personality as well. You'd see children not taking as much risk as they would. So these are things that you can inculcate in your child and in yourself as well.
I want to ask one thing, because as you see in our rapid changing society and world, so in the amount of which the construction is happening, we are also evolving, cities are developing. So we also have that less space, so that we can go out into the environment. Places, there are some places which are not that safe for the kids, so that we can leave them outside to to go for a play or something like that. So on that, what do you think that when we are saying that we encourage and encouraging the nature and for outdoor activities, and giving them that exposure, what I guess what our generation used to have back then, the way you were sharing that you used to go into the farm fields or play into the sand. So I guess that thing is very much lacking right now, and which also lacks that ability with the kids, that they can fight with uh, other sort of diseases, or becoming less resilient. So what do you think on that part? How we can make or improve such things in today's time?
So earlier I was telling you that earlier we were in army camps. Army camps generally have a lot of space, right?
Yeah.
um, and there were a fair amount of children who would just come and play. Then we shifted to a city. Now cities don't have spaces at all, but there were, so our society also had a little small little garden sort of a thing. But I would not see children coming down in the evenings. They would go for tuitions, they would go for some classes, or they would sit at home with their gadgets. I think what needs to change is the parents' approach. If you have even 1 hour in the evening just to get your child down, just to get your child down, from your building, and just have those kind of communities where you know that, okay, fine, from 5:30 to 6:30, our child will be down, and you probably have one volunteer who take care of the children and be there, and just have that kind of space for them, and you have to probably even get them down for the first 1 month. I've seen buildings, and just where there is a car park and everything, children play there, and that at that point there'll be some adults, and they'll make sure that there's no car and nobody's getting hurt and all. So these are the kind of things that we have to do. We are all aware of how cities are developing, and there is absolutely no space. Probably the government can help, being making it mandatory for spaces, certain areas to have playgrounds. There can be schools, and those schools can actually open up their playgrounds to other children of that area. So these kind of things need to be done.
So I think it's very much an issue for parents today to rework their understanding of what play means, what nature means for their kids' development, because based on observations, the parents themselves are glued to the screen because their laptops, their phones, they are managing their businesses there, right? So and then they'll tell their kids, oh, you must watch your screen time, and after that they'll go back to their devices. Right? And it's also quite sad to see when you go out for dinner, families are sitting there, but everyone is on their phone after a while. Yeah, so it's kind of like a natural addiction. They just end up falling into the flow, and then there's no more genuine social interaction compared to what we've seen in the past. Yeah. So I think not all parents are like that. But what I feel, for those parents who see themselves falling into that trap, they could actually review and say, okay, I think what Singapore does, this is where I'm from. Singapore is building a lot of playgrounds infused with elderly care fitness facilities, right? So imagine you have your children's slides and monkey bar next to the senior care machines, right, to exercise. So in that sense, it promotes a multi-generational atmosphere, right? So for example, the kids can play while the parents or the elderly, the grandparents can also exercise at the same time while looking out for the kids. So in a very productivity focused world, this is one way to actually get people to come out because you can still be productive while your kids are out there having fun, in the nature. So I think that's one way to hack the mindsets of the people today.
That is excellent. Actually, that's a great idea. This is something that all countries must emulate, because this is such a great idea. You build parks and you build whatever, some sort of exercise machines or some sort of thing for the adults as well. And the second thing that you said about the phones, you're telling your child to kind of reduce the screen time while your screen time is crazy amounts. But that is something that all parents experience. I've had, at a certain point when I was also studying. So I was studying, and my child would come up to me and tell me that, you are watching your phone all the time. I was working and then I was studying. So I was like, I need my phone, because how else will I study, or how else will I kind of connect with other people? And then I realized that probably to kind of, it's to be with your child at that moment, whether it is 1 hour or 2 hours, and just be with him without the distraction of the phone is very important. So probably the rest of the day you can go about your daily work. You can look at your screen, but that 1 hour or 2 hours in a day when you're actually going out to play with your child, or when the child is playing, that time you do a kind of something which is other than the screen. And this is something that not just the parents, but everybody can kind of use, just 1 hour or 2 hours in a day without the screen, and it'll do wonders for everybody. So so that's something that we should, as a society, and try and do for our own mental health.
Hmm. And that's an interesting point you also featured just now about promoting a nature-based curriculum. Because I also did read somewhere once that the kids are much shorter than us, right? So when they go out, they are closer to the ground and they are more able to perceive or observe the little critters that are running around, right? So
Yeah.
that kind of stimulates a curiosity and also a kind of stewardship to protect these little creatures that we adults, who are taller and perhaps using our phones while outside, we might miss. So yeah, that's a great time as well for the kid to
Exactly.
really learn more about nature before they also grow taller and getting their phones. Yeah.
Yeah, and then with nature-based curriculum, there's one more thing that
Mm.
you are able to study nature in its true form, right? So what you're gaining that knowledge, you're actually applying it at some point. You're growing. The teacher tells you, okay, fine, you have to probably get some seeds and plant it and whatever it is. So you kind of observe, and it'll take time. It'll require patience. It'll require a lot of your knowledge about what the soil is, how a plant will grow, and that will kind of get you closer to the nature, and you'll get a lot of understanding of living beings other than humans, or so it's a great way to kind of change your education system for a better, greener planet.
Definitely agree. Yeah. And also, Arhana, you did mention that, let's say a parent listens to this and takes a kid down to the playground to immerse in nature and so on, there will be a possibility that they might bump into other kids. And then, this is where the idea of bullying can start, right? So perhaps you could share with us from your expertise, what are some common signs that a child might be experiencing bullying?
Yeah, so
Mm.
one extremely important thing that we must, as parents, understand is that most of us are usually uh, overprotective, and we need to know the difference between an actual bully and a bullying case, and a regular child with a bit of tiff, or some sort of minor fight that kind of happens, right?
Coming to our next segment, so
Yeah,
which is dealing with bullying.
right.
So with that, I want to ask you, when what we discussed later on, just before that, that how we need to provide our kids that external environment for their mental growth also, and that how they can become resilient.
Yeah.
So what do you think, how we can also safeguard them from bullying, how this bullying starts, and what are the things with which bullying is related to. I remember I was sharing one of my story also, that when I was a kid, so during that time in the school days, I used to get bullied in my class from my friends. Like at that time, what used to happen is, like, I was a very shy kind of a person, so I don't used to express much at that time. So because of that, they used to tease me. But what I see these days, bullying has also taken up different ways. Like a mental bullying is also there. Like the kind of a peer pressure which takes place within the classes to outperform well, or even in the families. So I guess that thing also creates a big issue when it comes to kids. And also, how do you think that is it just restricted towards the family, or like in the school place, or what? How do you think as a person what bullying is?
Right. So, bullying basically is repetitive, negative, or aggressive activities which are done with the intention of harming somebody. So, basically, that person who is being bullied is repeatedly being targeted, and with the intention of harming that person, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically. So that is what bullying is. So one time case will not be considered as a bully, or one or two times, or if there are three, four children teasing a child. Um, so a bullying has to have that intention of harming the child physically, mentally. So you have physical bullying where you're pushing, kicking, somebody. That's a physical slapping somebody. That's physical bullying, or repeatedly, right? Verbal bullying. So you're basically saying some, and this physical bullying is generally seen with a lot with boys. And verbal bullying and social bullying, as in your, ostracizing one child, that is seen a lot with girls. These are kind of, where you're repeatedly saying something which hurts the child, which gets his self-esteem down. And then you have cyberbullying, where somebody is actually on the internet, and that person is kind of threatening you, saying that I will do this, or I will, I will hurt your parents, or I will kind of leak these things about you. These are signs of cyberbullying. And racial bullying is also something which we see, of a particular um, class or a particular country. So these are the kind of bullying that you usually see in children.
Yeah.
Cyberbullying has taken up a new kind of, is a new thing, and it is kind of coming up in a huge way, because a lot of children, so there was a research done, and about 50% of the children were saying that they have been bullied on the social media at some point in time. So victims, or children who are being bullied, you would see that they are either, they're sad, they are they're, not really mingling with the rest of the crowd. They could be physical symptoms of bullying, and the sense you'd see that the kid is hurt. He's not saying why he's hurt. They're avoiding, going to school or doing the routine things, whether it's the playground or, taking the bus or something. Then they're probably saying that I'm not well all the time, trying to excuse themselves from going out, or they are, missing or destroying, there's some sort of harm that they're causing, so that they are not, so these are small signs that you would see. There's an appetite loss that you would see. So these are the kind of things that you'd see in children who are being bullied. Now, as far as the bullies are concerned, we were just talking to Ryan about it. And he was saying that, the bullies, we were just discussing that bullies also have their own problems. And that is why they kind of want to kind of be aggressive, and they want to kind of bully other children. So these kind of children, they have some either trouble as far as parenting is concerned. They
Yeah.
have troubles in schools. Probably they're not very good learners. Probably, some of them are not, and this is a proven research, where children who cannot learn as quickly as other children might be that might be the reason why they have become bullies, because most of the teachers don't like them, and they are backbenchers. So these are the kind of children that, or they are on the other spectrum, where they are super intelligent, and they are not knowing what to do with their energy. You know,
Yeah.
they are also, and mostly bullies are physically stronger, and they have more energy, and then they don't know what to do with it. But and
Yeah.
and there are a lot of bullies who are seen nowadays, who also have a lot of violent or sexual content that they are consuming
Mhm.
regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, as you have also been a part of, like, military school, and you have, been associated while, like, with other institutions while you were doing your MBA. So I just want to ask you one thing, because I don't think so that, coming up with strict rules and guidelines will make a very drastic change.
Yeah.
So apart from rules, or apart from these laws, what do you think can be the other way around, or can be the other perspective, where we can say that, we can create a safer space for such people, and create that, that brotherhood feeling on all, so that they can, nurture that relationship also, and can grow together in the faster manner, in that way.
Frankly, I feel that all this, the bullying cases and everything, um, firstly, it has to be communicated well. There have to be guidance sessions done in schools on a regular basis by trained counselors and psychologists. Very important. Social emotional learning is extremely important nowadays for children. And the adults might say that, we never had it, or, the schools might say, we are doing pretty well without it. But social emotional learning, against guidance sessions, especially for bullying and things like that, is extremely essential so that there is knowledge. First thing is the children who are being bullied or the bullies have the knowledge that this is called bullying, that this is what happens. This is what happens when you're bullying. Then you discuss. There are so many, schools which actually open up to discussions that, this is what happened with me, or this is what happened with a friend, and how to deal with such situations. So for children, they need to sometimes be shown the path. They need to be shown that, okay, this is another roadblock that you might just come up with, and this is how you kind of go about it. So these are the kind of things, firstly, that can be started in schools. You need to start talking about it, and you need to create awareness about it, even with the parents. In case there is any kind of bullying that a child is experiencing, they need to know who is the authority that they need to kind of go to. If it is extremely, the circumstances are such that you probably will have to report it to a higher authority or even to the police for that matter, you need to know when. If there is an assault, if there is a threat of life, you need to kind of report it. There are no two ways about it. You cannot kind of say that, okay, fine, this is just a one time thing. No, a threat to life is extremely dangerous and it has to be reported. So these are the things that you need to firstly be aware of. The basic thing is awareness,
Yeah.
and then you need to kind of have those kind of talks, whether it is the parent child communication. It has to flow very, very naturally. You need to ask the child on a regular basis as to not what did you do, but whom did you sit with today, or what did you have, what did your child friend bring for lunch, and what did you do in your sports class, or how was your how was your day overall, how were your emotions overall. These are the kind of things that you probably have to have as a part of your discussion with the child on a daily basis.
Very true, very true. So, just one more question into addition to this. So, like, what do you think? What strategies can children use to cope up with this and stand up to the bullying?
Yeah. So basically, again, these are some guidance sessions that the child probably needs. The children probably need at in schools. But the basic thing is that they need to know when to walk away, when to cry for help, when should you be screaming and saying no if somebody is troubling you so loudly that people get their attention, and when is it that they have to report, that they feel that they need to report it to the teacher.
Yeah.
They need to know how can they be safe, whether it is physically or emotionally. How those are the kind of things. What is the immediate thing that you do when you feel a certain sensation, or you feel anxious because you know that the other person, the bully, is approaching it. So these are the things that you need to kind of make the child aware of, and a guidance session. And if in case there is a need for a counselor, so you should know when is, if it is gone too far, maybe the child requires counseling. So the parents and the teachers need to know that these are the ways and means to go about it. And the child has to know that these are things that do happen on a regular basis, and it's nothing that you need to be afraid of. You cannot be afraid of a bully. You need
Yeah.
to know how to deal with the bully.
Yeah. So, Ryan, I would like to ask you this point, like, giving it to some international perspective also. How do you see that, that students are much more vocal about it, that when something happens like this, so how comfortable they are about telling or sharing this thing within their peers or to teachers or to their parents? Like,
Mm.
what do you think?
Yeah, this very much depends on the environment they were brought up in. Because I have come across parenting styles whereby it's be a man, deal with it, and then after that,
Yeah.
sweep everything under the rug. They don't mention it anymore because they fear that they might appear weak if they
Yeah.
speak up, right? So in a way, it's a kind of toxic parenting style that has led to a lot of repressed emotions, and then later on, the poor kid just blows up, right? And
Yeah.
then they become the bully themselves. They end up taking it out on other people. So there's this vicious cycle, and that's why thank you, Aradhana, for pointing out that bullying is not just black and white. There are a lot of nuances to it,
Yeah.
and we really have to look deeper and see where is all this energy, negative energy transfer coming from. right?
Yeah.
It could even be coming from a parent who loves the child but is conveying the message in the wrong way. Like the parent has good intentions, but the poor kid is learning something else instead, and then
Yeah.
believing that it is correct. Yeah. So having worked with the parent and the kid in that spectrum before, I realized that really have to speak to the parent also, so that whatever they do, the child will mimic, and of course mimic the proper behaviors, and end up becoming the very thing that they were they're being targeted by the bullies, right? The bully becomes the bully, which is very frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and also to add on, I think one good way to manage bullies is to also destroy them by making them your friends. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's one quote I heard, right? So it's either to, but of course, this requires a lot of strategy. Sometimes you have to expose them in front of the teacher. Like perhaps, for example, for me, I was bullied a lot by bullies in my school. So I would kind of position myself one day in the canteen, right? So that the teacher would be there also. And then the bully bullies me, the teacher sees, cannot escape already, right? Then when we discuss, then we'll say, okay, I actually have no quarrel. I want to be friends with this guy. I don't want him to keep bullying me also. Then the bully has like no more incentive to fight back, because the person I bullied suddenly spoke up for me and say, maybe he's going through some hard time. We could understand him as well. Yeah. Then next day, buddy already. Then no stress, ma. Both of us are not stressed anymore because we have a new friend. We can support each other. So I think that's the kind of if the kids can learn how to manage this in school, then there will probably be a lot more harmony rather than competition. Yeah. So the parents, teachers have to play their part. You don't want the teacher also ending up hating the bully and then traumatizing the bully further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to know when is it that the child has to walk away, when is it that the child has to attract attention, and when is it that the child can just say, okay, if he calls me an idiot, I'll say, all right, I'm an idiot, and walk off, and not make a big deal out of it, because sometimes the bully just is flabbergasted that how is the other person accepting his being an idiot. So these are ways that you have to understand that the bully is getting bully is a bully because he wants some sort of power over you. And if you just accept, you're not giving the power to him at all. So you have to kind of learn those strategies, and it is something that can be learned, not very difficult.
Exactly. So to all the quiet ones out there, the Pranavs, the Ryans out there, have hope. There are other ways to deal with the situation and come up with a win-win.
Yeah, because I guess we need to develop that humility among within the students and within the people, I guess, and then only they will get to learn that we need to respect each other and not bully them. Because I also saw one of your posts, Ryan, in which you also mentioned this thing that the strength of the team is each individual member. So the strength of each member is the team. So I guess if we can make them learn the team player and that spirit of the team, how to build a team and go along with it. So I guess then we can also reduce that that amount of bullying which happens or which takes place.
Very well. Very, very well said, actually. But you have to have that empathy that this guy is stronger, but I have my own strengths.
You did mention the point of interpersonal relations, right? So now we take a look at the intrapersonal relations. Like how can the child themselves develop into a healthy and resilient individual? So I think we would like to go to the part about developing healthy habits. Yeah. So maybe like eating, exercise, sleep. Yeah. Tell us more about this.
So a healthy lifestyle, according to I don't know. I'm talking about myself now because everyone has their own way of having a healthy lifestyle. But I feel a healthy routine, as far as children are concerned, a healthy routine, a healthy time to get up, a healthy time to sleep, healthy eating habits, and a healthy mind. This is what will kind of make a healthy child or a healthy human being, right? And I feel that I don't know about the recent nutrition. Recent nutrition studies have only started about 1910, around 1910 or so, 1910, 1915. So around 100 years back, right? In India, if we dive into our past knowledge, we've had it for about 5,000 years. And so I would like to kind of include that in the presentation because I feel that that's a really important thing, that legacy that we have forgotten. And that is something that we can actually kind of tap in. So we had the 8 limbs of yoga. Yoga is not just the exercise part, and it has 8 limbs, which are yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. So what are these? I'll just explain you in a brief. Yama is, a proper social behavior. How do you behave with yourself, and how do you behave with others? So respecting yourself and respecting others, right? Niyama is personal, your time, your how do you manage your entire day and stick to routines, your proper behavior, your proper good food, and a healthy lifestyle. So that is niyama. Your asan is how is your posture. Do you exercise? How do you hold your posture, and how do you hold your body throughout the day? Pranayam, again, an important aspect of a healthy lifestyle, which is breathing techniques. So a lot of people don't know, but you can actually, um, your emotions, once your emotions change, your breathing changes. And it can go the other way also. So when your breathing changes, your emotions change. So that is something where we have not tapped into. In fact, as children, if you know that your breathing is a certain way, and to change it, like if I am extremely angry and I want to change it, I just have to use another breathing method. It's as simple as that, you know. And pratyahar is how you control your 5 senses. So it's right now our senses are all over the place. So we are seeing so much, our eyes are seeing so much stimulation. It's our taste and everything. We are not able to control our 5 senses, and that is exactly what yoga teaches you. Dharana is concentration and focus, which is also kind of not there. And I would like to say this for myself as well. After the screens have come into the picture, my concentration is level is gone, and I have adopted technology as an adult. So what must be happening to the children who have adopted it like at the age of 1 or 2? So that is something that we need to kind of get back to, how to concentrate and how to focus. And it is all there in our scriptures. And people are right now, we are all trying to get that, revive that, so that we are able to use it for this generation. Dhyana, that is mindfulness, how you are able to kind of control your inner self, and how to regulate your emotions, how do you meditate on a certain thing. And samadhi is something which is super conscious. That is something that will come once all these things are followed. So yoga is not just exercise; it's a lot more. And if our children are able to master it at a younger age, imagine if they're able to master focus or concentration. They're able to master their own breathing techniques, so that if they're emotionally unstable, they can balance it. They're able to hold their posture straight and know what posture is good for them. If they're able to kind of have a routine and a niyam, that'll be great for us. So that is something that I would really like to kind of experiment in children. If they are able to use yoga, we can use yoga for a better mental health and a better, healthier lifestyle for children. So what we see nowadays, because of the screen time and because of the unhealthy lifestyle of children. As I told you, myopia is just one thing, but things like type 2 diabetes, things like breathing problems, things like early PCOS cases in teenage girls, precocious, puberty in girls, depression and anxiety. These are all related to an unhealthy lifestyle, which basically means whatever I told you earlier about yum yum and the others. Basically, none of those are being followed. So your posture is not right. You're not sleeping on time, and because you're not sleeping on time, your circadian rhythm is getting disturbed. Your circadian rhythm is basically a biological rhythm of the body to sleep on time after the sun sets and get up when the sun rises. So there are certain hormones which are secreted when you're sleeping, and these are extremely essential for the mental health of any child. And if you're not able to do that, the kind of problems that you will face later, biologically, physically, and mentally, um, is what you see now. So these are the things that I feel is extremely essential for any child to follow. You have to go out and you have to exercise is one thing, but you have, if you're eating, there's another study which showed that when you're on your screen you end up eating junk. And you can actually see that for yourself. I mean, if you're sitting in front of the TV, you would get those packet of chips, you would get that coke or whatever juice or something, and sit, because it's something that has been instilled in us. um, so by them, by ads or whatever it is. So yeah, so incorporating a healthy lifestyle includes all of this. It One thing that I would like to add is, I don't know about Singapore, but in India, in I'm sure over there also it's the same thing. But over here in festivals, you earlier we would give our traditional mithai. Now it is changed to chocolates. The children don't eat the Indian made mithai. Not like that's that's very healthy, but if made with the proper ingredients at a certain point in your seasonal, in your in that season, probably it is good for you a little bit. But now it's changed to chocolates. So children are, you're giving each other chocolates, they are having more and more chocolates at that time. Again, birthday parties. Um, we all know that in birthday parties, you would go and you would have all kinds of junk, you know. So imagine, like from childhood, you know that if you go to a birthday party, you enjoy, you have junk food, and then you relate the two, and then you say, to enjoy, I need junk food. Right? So if I'm enjoying, I'm going to a party, I'm not going to have a healthy meal, I'm going to have junk, because that's how you enjoy yourself. So that is the kind of conditioning that is happening to us these days. And that will require some kind of, intervention if we want a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, it can be very difficult in today's food industrial complex environment, because they just market the food to be so delicious, right? And yeah, you have to eat it, otherwise it goes away. It won't come back for a season. Yeah.
And you're missing out on something if you're not eating it. So
Well,
also, I don't know if you know it. This is something that I saw in one of the talks, where they said that cigarette making, companies that used to make cigarette earlier, they kind of got into the food industry. And so the scientists which were employed by the cigarette industry, which was basically, they were researching on how to get people addicted to it, right? Now those scientists are actually researching on how to get people addicted to the food that we make. And so how do you do it? You add a lot of chemicals, you add a lot of things which kind of enhance your palate, which kind of get those, brain neurons to kind of, go all over the place. And then you're like, okay, now let's give it to children. So from a young age, that child is getting completely all the time stimulated by even the food that you're eating. So it is, and it is not something that we can't do anything about as a society. If you're looking for a better future, as governments who are looking at, and not looking at the next elections or how to make more money, but to look at how we can have a better future for our children. These things will just take one ruling, that you cannot put such kind of preservative or such kind of chemicals in the food, in packaged food. So it's going to take a lot of awareness, but I we get that at some point.
Yeah, well, that's why we have the policy tank to shine awareness on this. Yeah. No, I was in Little India in Singapore, this district, the other day, and I came across this shop that sold me a banana milkshake. And then when I drank it, it was so sweet. I asked them, what do you put in this milkshake? They said, oh, it's just honey, no sugar. What? So there are alternatives out there, healthy alternatives. But the thing is, because all these processed sugars, salt, Ajinomoto, they're all marketed so
Yeah.
cheaply. People just use them out of convenience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's quite sad to see this being fed to our children. In fact, going back earlier to your point, Aradhana, about all these life skills, right? How to breathe, how to manage your posture. It's only barely covered in school, if I remember correctly. Right? They
Yeah.
just touch upon it briefly. They don't. Yeah. So imagine for years, my friends, the whole school. Imagine the whole school. I'm there. They're all just breathing with our chest. We're not using our diaphragm to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
wow.
there are actually techniques which will get you all, as energetic as you would be when you have a cup of coffee. You would be feel so energetic. Then there are certain, breathing techniques that will kind of calm you down, so you don't get over agitated. So there is so much knowledge, and unfortunately, we get it only when we are 30, 40 years old. When you're like, okay, fine, let's just start yoga because we are gaining weight, right?
Mm,
So that is not the right time. The right time is when you are 7, 8 years old. That is when you learn how to kind of have the perfect posture, the perfect kind of routine, the what food, what is nutritious and what is not nutritious, not in terms of these are carbs, these are, but how are you even, for your part of your world, your land, what grows, what is grown locally, and how will that impact my body, right? In this season, should I eat it, or should I eat it in that season? Because I remember my grandmother used to tell me that this is not the right season to eat this fruit. It doesn't even
mm,
grow at this time. So, now all fruits are available in non seasons, but they're
yes.
not doing the kind of, they're not giving you that kind of energy or that kind of nutrients that they would when they're eaten at the right time. So, this is the kind of knowledge that the children should have, that okay, fine, if I am, and you know what, in Ayurveda, according to Ayurveda, you and me don't have we are humans, we don't have the same kind of body. You
Mm-hmm.
might be a Pitta Prakriti, which and I might be a Kapha Prakriti. So basically, my eating habits and your eating habits would be different. The kind of exercises that you would do, not the kind of exercise, but right now we're all doing the same exercise, we're eating the same food, but it is not working well for me and it might just be working well for you, right? So, but imagine how amazing it'll be if a child actually knows it, that this is my body type. So if I eat this, I should eat it a little bit because it's not doing good for my body, right?
True.
See, but for that thing, like we need to create awareness, and our health industry and our parents should also need to be that much mindful enough that they can teach their kids, or tell their kids that okay, these are the things which you can actually go for it, or these are things with which you should not go for. So it also
Yeah.
comes with the parenting, and that how much well aware parents are when it comes to health.
Yeah.
So is that becomes a bit more challenging task.
So
And
exactly my point. Parents don't know. Do you think our generation knows about it? Probably my grandmother knows about it.
true,
And she is aware, but I wouldn't say even my mother will have that half. She probably will have half the knowledge, and by the time it's come to me, it's barely anything. So we have to, as parents, as educators, firstly, bring that again into the curriculum. You have to bring
Mm,
it into the curriculum so that it is, it is compulsory to learn. Once
yeah.
it's compulsory to learn, the parents will automatically know it. You know.
I want to ask you one thing over here, like because I'm very much close to the people who are actually, like underprivileged or who cannot actually afford such things. So, what do you think, like for them, how we can provide such, knowledge, and how they can, work on such things so that they can also take care of their health? Because it's like, that we say that, working for a greater good, but when we say that working for a greater good or working in the domain of public policy, so where is the complete public out there? So it can only happen when we are working in an overall manner by covering up all the segments of our society. So how to touch upon them, especially who are deprived of such things or such amenities?
Most of a lot of children, apart from the ones who don't get schooling at all, and in India, I'm sure many of them are getting the privilege to go to school, but they are not learning the things that they're supposed to. Yeah.
True. True.
You know, I as a below poverty person, might not really need sine theta plus tan theta plus cos theta. I might actually need to know about nutrients, because as a girl child, I might just get married and might have to start a family soon. And I'm so yeah, and I might just have to know how to take care of my child. It's as simple as that. A farmer again might not need, or someone whose dad is a farmer, and you know that this child will go into farming. It's in our village. They might not need again a lot of knowledge about a lot of things, but they need to know how the soil works, how nature functions. So I don't know whether we can tweak it according to them, according to their needs, or should we change our entire basics of what education is, right? What is education? What are we teaching the children? Does that have to change? Have to get a different perspective overall? I don't have all the answers, but hopefully we'll get there at some point.
Like what Pranav said, the awareness is already a very good stepping stone. Then we
Yeah.
can use that to explore. Yeah, in fact, this is also a very strong passion project of mine. How do we reimagine education such that we focus on the core vitals, especially in this technology advanced stage?
Yeah. I mean, how this is something that I have been struggling for years. What is it that a child should know before he touches technology? What is it that he should know? Should he be given a phone at the age of 1 or 2, and figure it out his entire life as to what he's searching on that phone? Or should he have that information prior to touching the phone, that this is what you get from a phone? That's a healthy lifestyle as far as social media is concerned. And what am I searching? Why is this phone here? Is it because there are reels? So is it entertainment? Is it something that I'm doing it for the purpose of knowledge? And then go about, how many hours should I spend on this device, and how not to get distracted from my goal, whether it is to kind of search for I don't know, some information or entertainment. How to not get distracted from that. Again, another important part of yoga, right? Concentration. How to stay focused, which even we struggle with. One little notification and you're there again, trying to figure out who gave you that. So it's so easy to distract us at this point. So again, I think yoga should help. I mean, that's meditation. Yoga does help, but for a 2-year-old, 3-year-old who's already exposed to it, and at that point, you cannot teach a child meditation. Very difficult for them to do yoga and mindfulness. How do you teach a child this? So again, there are ways and means to do it. There are ways and means to bring focus. There are ways and means to constantly, like you tell a child, this is A for apple, A for apple, A for apple. You have to tell the child that F is for focus. You have to constantly get your brain back to what you're doing.
Sounds a lot like a mindset technique, right? To really get them to think before they end up using the device or whatever technology is coming down the road. Yeah. Perhaps you could share what are some mindsets parents and kids can use to cope with things like building resilience or managing stress in this kind of stressful world today.
Yeah. So there's an interesting word you used is resilience. So it's a very it's a very well used word at this point. To build resilience in children. And what is resilience, actually? So basically, your ability to bounce back from any traumatic event that has happened to you, and you rise above that. So you grow further, and that is what resilience is. So you basically you from that trauma, you're transformed and you use that trauma to actually uplift you rather than bring you down. So again, it requires everything that we spoke about till now. It requires a lot of self-awareness about your own emotions, about your own strengths, your own weaknesses. You have to have a positive mindset. Again, a positive mindset in terms of how you making, what is the meaning making that you're getting out of that challenge that you faced. I fell down. Oh my God, I hurt myself. The very basic example, and I hurt myself and everything. The meaning making could be that, oh, that I'm weak. The meaning making could be that I need better nutrition. The meaning making could be that, okay, I have to try harder next time to jump across. So what kind of meaning making you have in your, that the attitude that you have, that makes all the difference. So what kind of strategies that you use to cope with any kind of challenge or trauma that you face, what kind of connections that you make with other people. um, it all kind of encompasses resilience. So they say the way that you make people resilient is by volunteering and exposing them to something that they are uncomfortable with, like getting them to kind of get out of their comfort zone. So that's how you kind of make a child resilient. And I have a very interesting kind of meeting that I had with the pediatrician, my child's pediatrician. So he said that, ma'am, what I do, I take my child by first class. First class is basically no AC train journey, and very very normal. Like you don't get any kind of food, you have to go and buy it. It's like a basic things are available. You have a berth, and that's about it. And then you're left to yourself till the journey is over. And so I make my child travel by first class or second class at least once in a year. This doctor is definitely capable of getting a flight ticket to whichever place that he wants to go to. But that once in a year, he takes the child and he says, 3 days of traveling is what you're going to do. We did it earlier as children. We did it all the time, right? I remember waiting and waiting for the station to come. But now children are not used to it. They're used to reaching a place A to place B in an hour or hour and a half. And they're used to listening to their iPod or whatever in between. And but now you imagine the kind of things that he's actually instilling in the child. Patience as a virtue that is not there anymore. Um, Knowing that you will be there'll be heat and you have to bear it. There'll be no AC, so there's heat. There are all kind of smells. There are all kinds of people that you have to deal with, so you deal with them. So this is something that is going to get you out of that comfort zone, right? Again, another example is army kids. So born and raised in the army, and they're called brats, and they are all over the place. Every 2 years, they're changing their house, they're changing their friends, they're changing their school, and they have to adjust. There's no other way to go about it, right? It is traumatic. And if you ask the children of army defense personnel, they will say was very traumatic for me when I was younger. And slowly, I kind of got used to it. So what kind of holds them together in spite of that? And most of them now are extremely social human beings. So what kind of got them there, right? It's probably the fact that they had to do it. One, they had a very strong family that kind of supported them throughout this. Number two, they have a very strong community. So defense personnel, the community is such that they accept you wherever you go, right? So if you go to another station, the school will kind of accept you. The teachers will know, okay, it's new students, so they'll take time to adjust. And the other children will make friends with them quicker. So the community, the family bonding, the kind of, their own meaning making in their own head, it kind of helps them get there. And eventually they'll not even mind it. They'll be like, okay, fine, I'm changing my place. But their relationships stay strong. So strong relationships is again extremely important. Their self-esteem. So all these things kind of help build resilience in human beings. And growth, again, some other things are a growth mindset. Like, that you can learn something, you can get out of it. Your brain can become stronger every time you make a mistake, and every time it kind of you get up and you become a stronger person. So these are the things that you kind of instill in a child to have a more resilient human being.
Mm. Yeah, very good point you brought up about meaning making from a personal perspective, and also about the community to support them if they do fall. Yeah, I think in this kind of age is so you turn on the news, you see all this pessimistic, doomsday kind of information flowing in. So it's very easy to fall into that mindset of thinking, the meaning making becomes skewed already. You start thinking, oh, there's not a better future there, which is what I find is affecting a lot of young people nowadays, actually. Yeah, and then they just retreat into this bubble of binge eating or uh, complaining, ranting, yeah, which is not healthy for the child's development. So thank you very much for sharing all this. I think meaning making really a very useful point that I'll take away from this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Aradhana, we have time for one more section, and I think we would like to cover the very important skill of creativity and imagination. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, could you share with us why is fostering creativity and imagination very important in a child's development?
Okay. So what really is creativity is basically thinking out of the box, right? So you're basically something that is not to your made structured, which is not something that you can think of, and that is always there in a child. A child is born creative, and we kind of structure them according to our structures, and then we say you'll be creative now. So that is something that we adults have to understand, that first we are putting them in a box called a school. Then we are giving them a standard curriculum, which will be like for every person, every child, whether he's short, tall, whether he has that capacity to it, where he doesn't. And then you're saying, now you think out of the box. First you put them in the box, right? So
That's the problem.
so and then you're saying, now you get out of the box at some point and you think for yourself. So what we need to do is we need to kind of change that kind of outlook altogether. We have to have a more curiosity based learning. More curious and motivated children are creative children. They have to have that kind of independence to learn on their own, and they have to have that kind of independence to think on their own if they have an idea. And it might not be the world's best idea, right? But it's an idea that they can work on, and they can fall, they can get up, they can ask the teacher that, okay, fine, this is not working, but at least let them work on that idea. So project based learning is something that I think would really help all schools. And learning by creating something. So not just an art piece, but anything. You can create anything, and you kind of have your own perspective, of thinking, and your teachers and your parents accept that, and you are able to reflect on whatever you have learned and whatever you have done. So another very important thing that schools can follow is reflection after every single activity. So whether they've played ball, whether they have done a science project, whether they have written a poem, you sit and you reflect about it.
Yeah.
And when you do, there are so many thousands of ideas or things that come to you, and then you discuss it as a class. So a lot of things don't really you assimilate it after only a point in time. right? You don't immediately assimilate everything and kind of blurt it out. No, it'll take about a day or two, and then you think about it. So you have to have that time for reflection. Children now don't have the time to even have that 1 hour of break to reflect on what they did in school.
True.
They, it's not that their brains are not working when they're not doing anything. They are, when they are coming back from school and they're not doing anything, it's their brain that's connecting neurons together.
True.
Right? They are trying to process whatever has happened in the entire day, make sense of it,
True.
make some kind of meaning that of it, which will be reflected later on in life. So earlier we had so much of time. I remember as a child, we had time to sit and just be without really doing anything at all. No class, no going out, nothing. We had the time, an hour, two, we just sit and do our thing, maybe paint or something, or just sit by ourselves on a hammock and just think of whatever has happened. And that is, the children are not getting that time now, right? So these are the kind of things that you can do even in schools, especially the reflection activity. And it really would help the child. At a ball game, what happened? Some people fell, some people made a goal or whatever. And how did it work for you? How did you feel about it? What did you think went wrong? So these are the things that you can actually do in class. And making the child more, giving them the responsibility is a great way to do about it. You're responsible for it. And one more thing I wanted to add here, children, this goes for creativity and this goes for resilience as well. Children below 8 years of age, they need a lot of so they are basically more in the heads than they are outside. They are processing stuff, and a lot is happening. They are more imaginative, that's why they are more creative, that's why they have a lot of creative games, they have a lot of make believe games and all. And after it, they're more logical, and that is how the brain works. That's how the brain is developed. So before the age of 8, you can actually tell them a lot of stories, a lot of value-based stories. So in India, we have the Panch Tantra, we have the Ramayana, Mahabharata, we have a lot of folklore, a lot of folk tales. Or there are so many heroes, and you can just tell them in a story form. That's where storytelling comes into picture. So you can do a lot of that, and you don't need to tell them that this is the moral of the story. No, they will process it for themselves. You just tell them, give them as many stories as possible, and after that, after the age of 8, say, they need more experiences. They don't need an experience like a very like going on a vacation to Paris. No, they need more of experiences of the world around them. So they need things like cleaning up your area, or cleaning up your school, or painting your school for that matter, or planting trees and see how they grow. Taking care of pets from your biology department, or serving the homeless, or serving the staff in your school or at your home. The small projects which kind of give them that kind of things to reflect on. Um, then they, like a little older children, you can help build their willpower, and so you can work on that. So you can have cycling expeditions, you can have volunteer work. You go to a blind school and become a writer for them for a day. Go to an old age home and play with them, entertain them for a day. So these are the kind of things that you need to kind of do with children, and not, take them on holidays, a great experience, but they'll forget it for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
But an experience like this, they will not forget,
Yeah,
because,
yeah, which will also make them actually more, what is it, responsible enough, so that towards the
yes,
society and towards also the things what they actually do, and that thing they will remember throughout their lives, what they used to did or do with their parents or with the people, community people out there in the society. So I guess that will be the greatest thing. And this can actually eventually, can develop the that creativity and imagination things
Yeah.
further.
See, I'll tell you another great example was as a child, I remember we would collect funds for, we were in Christian schools, so we would collect funds for a missionary for their whatever they volunteer, whatever work that they were doing. So we had to go from house to house and collect funds, and some people would give very willingly, some people wouldn't, and we learned from all of that, and we learned how to kind of go beyond our ego and actually ask for money, right?
Yeah.
And we felt so good at the end of the day when we collected a certain amount and gave it for a cause. So these are the things that you actually remember, and it would actually build your personality, your
Mhm.
character, and
True.
have an overall development of any person.
Yeah, and I guess the different topics today what we discussed, like from since the very starting, like which covered the importance of nature and outdoor activities, and then delving into bullying thing, and then how developing healthy habits and building emotional resilience, mindfulness, meditation, navigating social media, and so I guess all these things at the end, like conclude things like which can help a student or a person developing his creativity and imagination while also being humble, and at the same time getting more empathetic towards the people out there. I guess in that way we can develop that society and that the responsiveness
Yeah,
among them.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
these are the kind of things that would probably make a wholesome personality rather than a very skewed,
True.
personality.
Yeah, I guess for such things we also need more more interaction with the students and with the with the learners and teachers who are teaching them, while also organizing such workshops and classes, and also I guess then it can create a that skyrocketing change in the society.
Absolutely, and it's very, very much needed. I think
Yeah,
if we have that kind of those kind of workshops and that kind of awareness, if you're able to build, then it'll be great for the children of the future.
Yeah, because I guess
uh,
Ryan is also keep doing such things within his community and
mm,
keep interacting with such young kids out there. Ryan, if you can just share your experience and then we can conclude this thing.
yeah, no problem. I think there's an urgency that we educators have to bring to the table because there are reports in Asia, some countries, no one wants to be teacher. No, there's a no like in the past, many people were signing up to be a teacher, but now it's dropping. The rates are dropping, and
Yeah,
teachers are also resigning because they cannot handle the mental stress that comes with teaching. Yeah, so yeah, there really is a crisis we have to resolve. And by even being on this podcast today, it is a step in the right direction to bring that ancient wisdom, that forgotten knowledge back to what makes us
Yeah.
truly human. Yeah. Mm.
absolutely.
So
And that's really nice, that thing that you said about mental health of teachers as well.
Mm.
They're quite under stress themselves, you know,
Mm.
and
Correct.
that's something that needs to be addressed as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because the impression I get, if they are stressed out, then the poor kid, what are they? What are they actually learning? Or what are they
Absolutely.
picking up? Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a salute to all of you out there who are doing your best to revitalize the education space. Mm.
Absolutely.
yeah. So I guess on this note, I would also encourage parents and educators to implement these strategies. And like what we also discussed today, then their individual capacity or aligning with some of any organization or institution who are actually uh, working on such lines, or if not, then they can also come up with such ideas and make them push that, okay, you need to work on this thing because this is the need of the hour. And I guess if we are not able to do it, so we'll not able to produce good amount of results in future. So I guess for that, man, being a visionary, so that we can train our upcoming leaders who will be these young kids. So I guess for them, it is very much important that now, being as an elderly adults and the experienced people, we should need to take up that that steps so that we can cater their interest for their future. And yes, I'll also invite our listeners and who can share their experience and tips while we'll upload it up on our YouTube channel, and how they can come up to support us, either they belong to any of the organization or like in a personal capacity. So I guess then we can come up with such thing, whether like doing a workshops or some discussions out there within the community or in the schools. So I guess then that can be the next step further. So on that note, I would like to conclude this podcast today, and I'm actually very much happy that we had this fruitful discussion. Thank you, Radhana ji, for such coming up like while bringing such pretty good topics out there on such things.
Thank
Really
you so
great.
much for having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was a great discussion, and I'm so happy that were able to discuss the entire, all the topics which actually concern the children at this present moment. That really need attention.
Indeed.
So guys, keep sticking with us. See our podcast. Do subscribe, like, and comment and share so that we can increase our reach and reach out to the root areas of the India, and also, of course, to other parts of the nation, especially Singapore, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia, so that we can bring up such change. Also, we are working with UN Women. So yeah, let's ignite this step further through this approach, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Stay tuned with us. Thank you all. Bye bye.